And public safety meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Jamie, would you start us off?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Nina, would you please do the roll call?
Mayor Lynch?
Yes, here.
New member Collins?
Present.
Member Lewis?
Here.
Member Sonity?
Here.
Member Williams?
Here.
We have the approval of the minutes from the January 26th meeting. Did everybody get a chance to look at those?
Yes.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 26th meeting.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the January 26th minutes. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 As you know, we're live, so we don't have to do the roll call every time we're back to being live. One other thing I'd like to point out while we're here is we have a new board member. Her name is Joetta Collins. And Shauna sadly had to leave the board because her business got too busy, which is a good thing for her. But Joetta is going to be a great board member. If you look at our Facebook page, we have a little bio of her, and you'll see that she's highly qualified for this position. So welcome aboard, Joetta.
Welcome, Joy.
Welcome.
Welcome, Joy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you. We have unfinished business, the release of the maintenance bond for Twilla Development. Dan?
Just to be quick. So as you know, at the last meeting, I'd asked that this be tabled because I wanted an opportunity to work through some of the issues that have been brought to my attention that were sort of trailing on this project. I have had the opportunity to speak with the developer's attorney and the attorney for planning here in the city. We're still working through those things. We've requested a few things. They've requested a few things of us. So I would ask the board to table it again because we have to work through those things before I can recommend that this board release that maintenance bond. So I'd ask for a motion to table.
I'll make a motion that we table the release of the maintenance bond for Twilla Development.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to table the release of the maintenance bond for Twilla Development. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you,
Madam
Dan.
Mayor.
We have new business. We have Race the Region, Extra Mile Fitness Event. Is someone here from that? Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
You're going to try it again, right?
Yes.
Good
Yes.
for you.
Well, we actually held races last year and we were fine with it.
Good.
So I'm just here again this year asking for permission. We're doing a race that's benefiting the Portage YMCA. It is Sunday, March 21st.
Yes.
In the morning. It's a 5K and a 15K. It's primarily on the bike trail, but there is a bit that goes through, it's kind of a box behind Countryside Park on the roads. I've already talked to the Parks Department. They gave me an okay. I've talked to the Police Department. They've given me their okay on our map. We have permission from the Health Department. We are still using our modified time trial system where not everyone starts at one time.
Okay.
You're given a window, and it's a 10-minute window, and you can start anywhere within that 10-minute time. So it's wave starts. So even though we are allowed by the Health Department to have up to 500 participants, they are not there at the same time. So people can start as early as 8 o'clock. Other people will be starting at 9:30. So there's a possibility that some people will be done and have left before other people arrive.
I have a question.
Questions?
I did have a question.
Yes.
You said there were going to be delayed times that the runners start. Do you have an amount of members that were going to be running at the same time?
Well, they will, some of them will be running at the same time, but it's staggered, so it creates social distancing.
Yes.
We have start mats and finish mats, so they are wearing an electronic bib. I don't know if you're familiar with racing, but we have bibs that have chips in them. So as soon as they go across the starting line, their time will start, and then when they come back through and come across the finish line, their time will cease. So
How many in that how many do you expect to be in each group?
you can have up to 100 in each group, but that's only if that's to reach the maximum of 500. Like we had a race actually on Sunday, and there was 177 people. So that we didn't meet the maximum on that one. Last year for this one, I think we averaged about 300 some, and that was pre-COVID. We were like kind of got in right before before COVID shut everything down. So do I realistically anticipate 500 people for the race? No, probably not, but that's what we've been allowed by the health department. And as far as that goes also, there is no, we don't encourage people, you're not allowed to come early and hang out beforehand. We do not do awards afterwards. Those are picked up at a later date at Extra Mile Fitness. We have no refreshments, so everyone's pretty much told to drive up, get out of your car, go to the starting line, run your race, get back in your car, and leave. There's no question.
Miss, I did look at the map. Your participants do know that they have to cross Swanson Road, so...
Yes, and we have it right now that we have a police officer that will be assisting with traffic flow there.
Okay.
We have one at Swanson, and then we have one at Airport. Plus, we have volunteer staff that will be monitoring all areas that we feel, and that the police, we've been working with the police department. We basically give them the map and say, what do you guys think? Where do you want us to have people, you know, and we kind of leave that up to them. But historically, we've had police officers at Swanson and Airport based on their recommendations.
Alicia, do you have an alternate date if the weather isn't clement and you can't run the race?
We don't. I mean, generally for Race the Region, it's pretty understood that we race in all conditions. It was unfortunately below zero last weekend, and we had 177 people that were crazy enough to run the race. So
Crazy is a good word.
yes, just because of the logistics of coming to you guys and scheduling, and in a perfect non-COVID world, there would be other races. So we generally, I mean, we don't cancel unless we absolutely have to.
Are there, do we have a motion to approve the Race the Region Extra Mile Fitness?
I'll make that motion, Madam Mayor, that we approve Race the Region and Extra Mile Fitness race is going to take place on March 21st here in Portage.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Nina, did you get that?
Yep.
Is there any further discussion?
No.
If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank
Good
you
luck,
all very much.
Alicia.
Well organized.
Good job.
We want to be good partners with the city of Portage.
And we love having you here.
Thank you.
We have the revision of General Order 10 for the police department. Chief Candiano. He was captain for so long I got in the habit of calling him that. It's only been a chief for over a year. It's like,
She's dying to demote me.
no, I am not. No way.
You have the power, so.
No way.
Well, it's good to see everybody in person. Welcome.
Thank you.
Did you guys get a copy of this? I think I sent it out to
Yes.
everybody. I don't think I sent it to you because you weren't. I don't think you were on there
No,
at
I
that
don't-
point.
I
Do
But
you
think you
have
said
it,
it's
Joanna?
okay.
I can pass this down to you. Yeah.
Thank you.
so basically, we're just looking to clean up a couple things here with our rider policy as we've been going through policies and procedures. You know, we found some different things that need to be cleaned up, so we're kind of bringing them to you periodically. So at the beginning here, under A and number 2, before we had Portage Police Reserves were allowed to ride, but they must be in full uniform. We've kind of tweaked our program a little bit with our reserves, which, on a side note, they will be assisting with the race. Very valuable to us. It allows us to be able to help out with a lot of these things because of them. But so back to this, we wanted to add in there that unless they're during the initial training period, of which they would be unarmed, that they would still be able to ride. Because basically, it said before that they had to be in full uniform, but what we were finding out was, you know, it's a large commitment you put into this, and a lot of time, and sometimes people think they want to do it, and when they get into it, it just doesn't work out. So, you know, we were outfitting people in uniforms, and then it wasn't working out, and we were making that investment. So we've kind of tweaked that training so that now you get out, you ride, you kind of see what it's about, you're putting that time in, and so this allows them to still come out, be riders as a reserve, but prior to a uniform. So that was all of that. And then under number 6, where we go into civilian riders, Section 3, basically we are putting in here that none of our riders will be armed. We never had anything in there that addressed that. Seemed like it was the right thing to do. So, you know, it was just something that had never really been ever addressed, and we kind of realized that that was, you know, an issue. So we do not want our riders to be going to scenes armed. And we do, you know, there's the other things that were not changed. There's a waiver. There's different things that are included with this rider policy. And then the last part we put in there was a question about riders in uniform. This would be, you have an officer from another department that wants to come along for a ride along, which is allowed, but we just feel like with having somebody else in a different uniform from a different department, there's just a lot of, that could be a confusing thing for somebody on a scene. So still inviting other officers to come out and ride with, you know, somebody from our department if they, you know, if there's that connection, but we would prefer that they not be in a uniform for a multitude of reasons. So I think Attorney Witten's looked over at this. I don't think there was an issue with any of it, so just wanted to get this changed. Pending your approval here. Questions?
No, I think it's, the changes were well-founded, and it's glad that your department caught them. So
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the changes, and I don't have it in front of me. What is that? Order 10. Make it official in General Order 10, riders with on-duty officers.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? I actually have a question. So this has always been something that has concerned me way back when I came on the council of riders with on-duty officers. What if there is an incident and that person is a civilian? I mean, what is our liability issue with that?
I guess that's probably a legal question. We do have a waiver form and such that maybe we can revisit with you if you'd like to see it again. But yeah, I'll turn that over to you.
So, yeah, that question's probably got about 20 words built into it and there, but on the 100-mile high view of it, the civilians signed a waiver. They're indicating that, you know, they waive all liability of the city, and so they won't, you know, so they're waiving their right if something happens to them to pursue against the city. And then the other part of that question, what if they did something to somebody else while they were riding? That's a bigger question we have to sort of iron out, but the fact that they're not armed, you know, it greatly decreases the chance that something unfortunate would happen in their hands. So it seems, I mean, a lot of departments do this, they try to take the waiver to the city. I guess my one question would be, in the policy you have, so the prosecutors can be armed?
Ted, you want to handle that one?
That was something that they were able to do consistently as long as they got the permission of their boss. They were riding in an official capacity at one point, so under a waiver, it's almost comparing two different things. So sometimes prosecutors would come out while working as prosecutors, and then we permitted them to be armed because they were allowed to by state statute. As for just a waiver, you're right on the front end, that's kind of a different story, but it's hard to articulate that.
So I guess along that question then, so we have our concern back to the mayor's question is, what if something unfortunate happens? So if we have a department, we have an officer for another department, we know all of our officers are sworn, how that rolls. Their own department's going to carry some of the weight of liability because they're, you know, under the color of that department's, authority. But with the prosecutor, I guess I'm a little bit concerned. They really are sort of civilian. So I can't address the mayor's question with respect to what would the liability be if they were on the prosecutor, unfortunately.
I think we were looking at it as if they were, because like as the assistant chief was saying, they used to come out and ride in an official capacity to, you know, kind of see what was going out there on the roads and you know, in the community. And so in their official capacity, if that was allowed by them, then, you know, we were looking at it as they're actually working rather than a ride along per se. It's more, it'd almost be like working a joint detail with another department, which, like you said, at that point, that officer, you know, really wouldn't fall under this either. If we were working a joint detail with the Porter County, with the sheriff's department, and they jumped in our car, I wouldn't consider them to be a rider. So, but again, it was trying to put that different wording in there to clarify the two for the prosecutor is kind of, that's how we came up with it that way, so.
So I don't know if we answer the question of liability. If we have an armed person in the car with us, honestly, the officer, this is, imagine this prosecutor is armed, it's an action. So I can't speak to that. It's not, we have to waiver. What's that for sign off on? Do we have a different waiver for the prosecutors? Or I would say they come out there and official capacity. Yeah. They would be on official capacity. I would suggest a waiver. What about, so with other officers, let's say a Hobart officer comes over and rides, are they signing a waiver?
The way that the rule's written, I don't believe they have to, but we've been having them do it.
Okay, so probably not a bad idea. And then, was I correct in hearing that? So another officer from another department comes over and rides, we don't want them armed? So we have a sworn police officer from the state of Indiana not armed, and we have a prosecutor armed.
Really?
So that's kind of, you know, because I think that officer has some duties. That's just a little tweak, things to think about. Not that this is wrong. But
Yeah. I mean, I got no problem going back at it if we want to. Our major concern with the, because that's been brought up as the other officer, was if they're not in official capacity, they're riding with us, and we brought up the instance of, I'm a patrolman, I have a lieutenant from Hobart riding with me. He that gets out of the car in his uniform, you know, people that are familiar with rank and stuff are going to go start addressing the lieutenant who's in his uniform. You know, it just seems like a confusing situation. And then, you know, if you go into a scene or you're somewhere and you've got a man in uniform or a woman in uniform, the general public isn't reading the patches. And so are they looking to that person to be possibly in charge of that scene or looking for assistance from the scene when they're technically riding as an observer? So we were just trying to prevent, there was a specific incident that kind of led us to this, coming up with this. There was a question about an officer riding who was going to be hired by, or was on our hiring list at some point, who was an officer somewhere else. And that's what got into the discussion is, you know, do we want to be having a scene like that where somebody who's not working is now riding, but the general public believes that they're working at the time as an officer. So it's.
I get it. I see. I mean,
we were trying.
It seemed like a no-brainer. Sorry, it seemed like when I looked at it the first time, it seemed like a no-brainer. But as I was sitting here and listening, these things just sort of cropped in my brain. Came to the worst-case scenario. So we may need to.
So you want to pull this back and then look at it a little further?
I think maybe if we could hold to the next board meeting, we can table to the
Fair
next
enough.
board meeting and give me and Ted and the chief an opportunity to sort of talk through some of these things.
Fair
They
enough.
come out in the same form. I just have some. I want to look at the waiver and really chat through the other stuff.
So, and I add just for the next time, in addition to that, once we started looking at this, because there wasn't a whole lot in this policy, as you can see, we started looking at other departments, and they have a checklist. You know, when you have the officer has to sign off with whoever the rider is. You know, in an emergency, this is how you use the radio. You know, you cannot film, you can't, you know, take pictures of suspects, victims, things like that. We've never had anything like that, so we didn't put that in the policy, but we have created a checklist that we're going to be having them sign off on too. So that kind of adds to some of the liability things there probably too. It's the whole sheet of things now, because as you said before, there wasn't much in there. It was, you know, we run a quick check on you and the chief signs off and away you go. So as we've been looking at it, we're like, we probably need some more things in there. So.
You know, I want to written so that I can put on my little uniform and when I review.
I have full discretion to, I have to approve, so.
So Chief, I have another question,
Sure.
because this is something that bothered me ever since I was on the council.
Sure.
And I remember going to the previous mayor and saying, look, I have a problem with civilians riding with our police officers.
Mhm.
So I'm riding around with a police officer. I've had this conversation with Assistant Chief Uselak many times. It's like, I'm riding along and now there's a terrible accident and there could be a death or multiple deaths. and I'm a civilian in the back seat. What do you do with me?
You're there for it.
No, because civilians are not trained like you are, so now your civilian, freaks out, and you're trying to address what's happening at the scene, and now the civilian is freaking out too.
So the way our rider program, like, there's a lot of departments where if you're a member of the public and you sign up and say you would like to be a rider and there's no red flags, then they allow you to ride. You show up, they assign you to an officer. Ours, we don't feel that that's the way that you should, I don't want to be putting an officer in that situation. Mm-hmm. So the only people that are signing up, unless it's, if we've got an intern program or something like that, or we've had, members of council or things like that that have written where we've probably said, hey, you're going to take this person. But otherwise, it's somebody it's, a family member, it's somebody. So, the officer is also signing off on that form that they believe that this person is, okay to come out and ride. So you're not taking John Public that you don't know anything about to put in your car. I mean, I would not sign off on anybody that I did not feel very comfortable with being in my vehicle. So, and they're with the understanding of the things that they're probably going to see. They probably have an interest in police work, or, the average person doesn't want to come out and see that type of stuff. It's usually people who have an interest or have some connection to the officers. So that kind of cuts down on it a little bit. Like I said, I've never been in favor of that. You show up and now you've got to take the citizen because you have an open right. I just don't think that's, I don't know how to be responsible for this person if I don't know anything about them. So anybody that's got somebody in their car, it's probably somebody that they have a pretty decent relationship with. So, but I'm open to, looking at whatever suggestions we have.
How many ride-alongs a month? Is it like an average, or are we talking a couple?
Yeah, we've got like, for instance, we've got one individual who his family member is an officer. He's going to school for criminal justice. He wants to do this job, so he's been out riding. He comes out probably once a week or so. Other than that, I mean, and with COVID, it's been really down because, there was a period of months where we said no riders at all because, obviously with the exposure. Handful a month, if that. Yeah, it's not
a minimum age, Chief.
Yeah, I think it's 18.
Is that stated in the?
Yeah, it's on the waiver. Yeah.
Chief, if I can chime in.
Sure.
We also partner with several universities, and some of our riders, civilian riders, are interns in criminal justice programs and help them complete their college and get some of those credits that are going to allow them to finish their degree so that they can get into this profession.
But they have some kind of purpose that's legitimate to ride the car.
A lot of times we'll have people reach out and say, an officer will come and say, my friend is interested in being, in law enforcement. But it's one thing to, watch something on TV and say that's law enforcement. It's another thing to get in a car and see what you do and then have to sit down and type the reports. And so in that way, we kind of encourage it because, if you think this is the career you want to get into, but you have no experience with it other than TV, that's not very helpful to that person or for us for recruitment purposes. Another time we use this, we partner with the dispatch center. We think it's important to have new dispatchers come out and, because they're hiring from all over the place. You may have a dispatcher that lives in Valpo, grew up in Valpo, and they're dispatching for Portage one day, and they have no idea. Somebody's saying, I'm on Willow Creek and I'm headed east.
That's hard to do.
You can't, but if you're not familiar with the area, then you may get on there and say they're saying they're eastbound on Willow Creek, So I say all that because then they come out and ride, they get in kind of the lay of the area, they kind of understand, how we work, because every department's a little different. So that's another opportunity that we use is to have them come out and ride. So it's a tool. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to it. I understand some of the concerns that you all have. And that's why we started to dig into it, because when we first kind of looked at it as what we had, previously, we were like, there's a couple things here that, kind of struck us as they're striking you. So
I think Joetta has a
Sure.
Chief, do you have field training officers that are specifically assigned to do the ride-along?
No. So once you're off your probationary status, then you can take somebody. So we're not putting a rookie officer with a rider, but they do not have to be a field training officer to do that.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Steve.
No, I was just gonna ask her something, but go ahead. You
No, I was just going to clarify, it sounds like Attorney Whitten would like a little bit more time to delve into this. And if that's the case, then I will rescind my motion and
That's what I was gonna say. That's
to,
what I was gonna say.
okay, rescind my motion to approve this until further review. So we need to rescind this second. Did you second it?
I want to add to yours. If there's anything new you want to put on it and to solve the problem with the prosecutors, so I agree with you.
Yeah, I think the motion should be at this time, correct me, Madam Mayor, if I'm wrong, is to table the discussion on this to our next meeting.
Yes.
Once the attorney gets with Chief Candiano and Deputy Chief Uzelak to iron out some of the questions and concerns. So that would be my motion to table.
Fair enough.
I'll second.
And Chief, I hope you don't think we're being picky.
No.
It's just something that's always troubled me, so I want to make sure that we are fully covered as a city for something that would happen. I mean, God forbid I was in the back seat and you were in a high-speed chase, I would say, open the door, let me out.
Let me out.
Nope, we appreciate the extra set of eyes, so it's not a problem at all.
And just to let you know that Joetta's husband is also a policeman with the South Shore, so she's
Fantastic.
probably got questions.
Yeah.
So we have a motion, a second to table to the next meeting, maybe the next meeting if you're not done talking about it. So all in favor of the table for the next meeting?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you,
All
everyone.
right.
Thanks, Chief.
Sorry to do that to you, Chief.
Oh, no problem at all.
Okay. We have bulk item appeals. Superintendent Reader.
Mayor, members. On the agenda for the appeals, we'll go one by one here. So letter I right there, or 5464 Fiesta. This is actually, we may have got a number transposed or something like that. We actually did charge the wrong resident, so I'm asking the board to overturn that charge. My recommendation on that one, on Fiesta.
Excuse me, Randy?
Yes.
Did you assess the fee to the correct person of that duplex?
This has been going on for some time here, so I feel that we're past that limitation of assessing that fee. It was a $25 fee, so it's minimal.
Mm-hmm.
So going forward, the guys have been instructed to be really careful, and when we process these things, that we process them at the right number. So
do we have a motion to reverse the fee for the person on Fiesta Avenue?
I'll make a motion to waive the fee for 5946 Fiesta Avenue.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to reverse the fee on Fiesta Avenue. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Randy.
the second one is 5082 Sherwin. We did reverse that, so that was somehow it got back on this agenda, but that's been taken care of.
Okay.
Number 3 is Mulberry, 5178 Mulberry. This one was 2 separate charges. One was for 1123 and the other one was 1221. I did make contact with this resident, and we discussed the situations within the pictures that we photographed, and we came to a understanding that the couch that was placed on the back side in the middle that we did service and pick up, I said I could see your reasoning in that. Maybe that should have never been picked up since that wasn't put at the curb. So I agreed with him, so I'm making a recommendation that we overturn that one. But the second one is clearly, through the pictures that we've taken, is close to the curb. And that one, he does agree that, yeah, that's a legit $25 charge. So out of these 2 charges, I'm just asking the board to overturn one of them for Mulberry, and I'll pull the other one.
All right, I make a motion that we overturn the couch situation.
Yes.
Is that what you want, Randy? And that we apply the $25 fee to the other set of items that were picked up?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the last one is on,
Well, let's
Whoa,
do-
we gotta make
We
a-
got your motions.
That was a motion, yeah.
We need a second.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Scott, seconded by Jamie, to overturn the one charge and let the other one stand. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
and the last one is 2526 Willowdale Road. This is elderly lady. She was, and we did go through our own records to see if this was like the first time that she's actually put out stuff that was charged, but we did not find any other incidents before this. She is elderly, fixed income. She asked her neighbor to clean out the house. She was not aware that it was a non-amnesty day, and she's asking for leniency on this charge going forward, that she'll always use the amnesty day as a pickup for any bulk items she may have out to the curb.
I'll make a motion, we waive the fee for 2526 Willowdale.
Thanks, very good.
We have a motion and a second to waive the fee for 2526 Willowdale. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Randy. We have the claims. Did everybody get a chance to review the claims?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to make, I'm sure it's just a
Yes. I saw
clerical
that.
error on the front page of the AV report, the accounts payable report vouchers. The dollar amount that's in that line, it does not reflect the total. So the actual total is $431,906.76. It's just a,
But we wish it was the one on the front.
been nice if it had been 43,000.
That's wishful thinking on the clerk treasurer's part. Do we have a motion to approve the claims?
I make a motion to approve the claims of $431,906.76.
We have a
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Is there any further questions? Joetta, do you have any questions on the claims?
I did have one question. Joseph Larry Poe.
So Joetta, can you just pull that
Oh.
down? Because Nina's way down there and
Oh.
she can't hear you.
I know, and then I have two on, so I'm a bit of, okay, you can hear me now. Joseph Larry Poe. There was some miscellaneous supplies, jeans, boots and jeans. Is that a contractor or?
I could answer that. That's for the street department. We use Larry Poe to buy our safety boots and other equipment that we use through the contractual agreement that we have with the union members down there for uniforms.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. For some reason, I was reading that and I kept saying, Joseph Larry Poe, who is that?
Yeah, it's actually an individual
Okay.
that they do business with.
Okay, that
Is
makes
that correct,
sense.
Randy?
Okay, thank you.
It's kind of like, is that Poe and Sons? Is that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And my husband told me that. He said, yeah, when I was, okay, I was confused. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions on the claims? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Major illness claims.
Scott, Madam Mayor, I do not believe there are.
Holy cow.
Whoa, holy cat, that's wonderful.
Mine's not.
Make a motion, we approve that.
I'll second that.
So Joetta, if you have questions on that, Dan will explain what that is. We can't divulge names and things because of HIPAA, so it's people that have asked to have a major illness claim, and then Dan reviews them because we do not have an HR person, so he's kind of like the pseudo lawyer, HR, whatever.
Okay.
Okay.
Mostly whatever.
Okay, thank you.
So do we have a motion to approve the major, oh no, there are none, zero. Thank you. Is there any other business to come before this board? Chief Wilkening.
Madam Mayor, members, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm the new guy too, so
Okay.
we'll get together later
Kind
and
of
talk.
new guy.
You've been here
New
for a
role.
while.
Yeah,
Randy, you've been here like 40 years or something.
Oh, goodness.
in this position,
Oh,
yeah, I'm
okay.
new.
That's still new, right?
Yeah, it's still new, yeah. Honeymoon phase is still going, so nobody's beat me up yet. Just wanted to come talk to you like Randy did with the street department last meeting. is it's grant time. FEMA's come out with their grants right now, and we would like permission to actively seek some grants. I do have a meeting with my assistant chief, with the mayor and councilperson Pogorski tomorrow to talk about money and things of that nature, but I want to seek permission to talk to you guys about what we're doing. So they're called AFG grants. It's the Assistant to Firefighter grant, and those two, right now we're looking at two of them. One of them is a local grant, which is we're going by ourselves, and that's to replace all of our portable radios. And we got a grant for those 10 years ago, and we had all those replaced, and now, as you all know, technology moves pretty fast, and we're in need of new radios, so we need to upgrade. And it's basically an 80-20 match, so our radios are about over $200,000, or actually it's 90-10, I think. $200,000, and our match would be about $19,000. So we could get all brand new radios, over $200,000 radios for $19,000. So we're looking into that. The other one is a regional grant. Right now, the county is about to go to dispatching. All the fire departments in the entire county are going to be dispatched on one frequency, and we're looking for technology that's going to kind of private line everything, so that way our people aren't hearing every single call all day long and all night. So we've partnered with Valpo, Chesterton, and also E911 board, the dispatchers. So we're not 100% sure what our match is going to be for that, of our share, because we have been talking with Anthony Stua, who's the director, and there is a possibility that they would contribute more, if not all, of the match grant. So that would be awesome if we could get all that done and have them pay for it, but that's not a guarantee. So, and then the SAFER grant is opening up now too. It just opened up this week, and we're looking at adding additional firefighters. And the new program now with the COVID is they will pay 100% for 3 years of the salary benefits. But then after the 3 years, the city is responsible. So that one is very important, that we talk with the mayor and the council and make sure that there's a plan in place before we go forward on that one. But just looking for the board's approval to look for these grants.
Do we need to make a motion, Madam Mayor?
Do we need to make a motion, Dan, to allow,
I mean, you'll have to approve at the end.
because we don't actually.
Just wanted to make sure everybody.
Undying support, Randy.
Yeah, just want to make sure everybody knows what we're doing, so.
Yeah.
How many firefighters would you be going for with the SAFER grant? Is there a limit?
There's no limit. It's just however many we get.
You just have to justify how many you need?
Right.
Based on retirements or people leaving?
Well, it's either retention or addition. We're looking for addition.
Okay.
And we're looking at between 5 and 8 firefighters, and that would eventually get us to our third full-time ambulance.
Right.
And that's really what we're looking for.
That is an important item that you've indicated, that, what's the financial responsibility after the 3-year period to the city. Obviously, that's important.
Correct, and that's something that really has to be discussed, because I would hate to have to do 3 years, do 3 years, and then, have to let people go.
Yes, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Okay, Randy.
All right, but that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy.
Come back to us with what you find out. Is there any other business to come before the board?
I just had a question. We've been starting to get calls from people requesting tag day and, permission.
Can you pull that down a little bit, because Joette is clear down there?
We've been getting calls about solicitor permits and tag day requests. So do we want to resume that, or do we want to hold off still?
Good question.
So Joette, the tag day is when we allow organizations, nonprofits to collect at the corner with the cans. So we did discontinue that during COVID because we couldn't do it. So I don't know.
That, That also includes door soliciting too, right? I think we should hold off, maybe to the mids. We could look at this again at the beginning of summer. I mean, with vaccinations coming but you know, with the other variant of the COVID, you know, I don't encourage it myself.
Yeah.
So, Nina, when were they wanting these? I mean, the weather certainly isn't.
For example, and I believe it was in the spring, Joe Casper had asked about a tag day for food pantry. So
For what?
I don't have the exact date.
The food pantry.
Because we didn't allow, you know, we just said, hold off, we'll let you know.
Yeah, we're gonna get Pop Warner, Little League, they're all gonna be coming. I understand your concern, Member Sonity, and, you know, it does make sense, but I think we need to, and for the sake of these organizations, if we are gonna change, I don't think we could, you know, we can wait too much longer. You know, maybe we can visit it at our March meeting, first meeting in March, but, because they're gonna be banging on the door.
Maybe they could start like in April when the weather breaks, but right now, I wouldn't want on a Saturday people standing in the middle of Central Avenue with the snow situation and stuff.
Yeah.
And also, we gotta set the guidelines.
Right.
There should be some guidelines set in place, possibly.
We do have guidelines, but the COVID,
What COVID
we haven't
guidelines?
allowed it during COVID. And so, you know, maybe we need to
Maybe
say
some-
they have to be masked
Some
up.
COVID guidelines, possibly.
Well, yeah, they're supposed to wear gloves, you know, because, you know, you're taking money from people and stuff. But sometimes they'll have 2 or 3 people in the same side of the intersection, which they shouldn't, you know, if they're, you know, maybe one person at each intersection at a time, and they could rotate. But many times I go by there and there's 2 or 3 going eastbound, or 2 or 3 going westbound, or coming out of the Strax Plaza, you know.
We even had an incident, right, Mayor, on Willow Creek Road where the police had to intervene. There was a group collecting money that weren't even supposed to be doing any collection on Willow Creek and 6th.
Yes, and that's not a corner we allow.
We don't allow that. So I witnessed it traveling to Maryville, and I know the police responded immediately, but we're always going to have that, and I think that's a separate issue. But I think we need to make a decision if we're going to.
Yeah, I just wish there was a more creative way for these organizations to muster up money, but I understand that's traditional and that's where people.
Can we separate door-to-door soliciting from the collecting at the corners?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't think anybody's really comfortable with somebody coming up to their door.
Yeah, I think
the employer should be comfortable sending somebody to everybody's door.
Yeah. No, I think we can allow the door-to-door solicitations to not take place, but make a decision on these requests to make, you know, tag days, however we want to frame it, happen.
Well, maybe we want to discuss a start date, like no sooner than May 1st. I mean, the weather isn't really still good in April. But then once, like Scott said, once we open that up, we're going to have them there every weekend because the nonprofits are really hurting right now, and that's one of the ways that they collect money. So, and we only allow them at the one spot now, do we, or do we still allow them down at Vivian and Central?
They've been there in the past, but
Well, we may want to, you know,
We
may want
usually,
to.
I'm sorry, I thought we only allowed them at the intersection there at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, at the
Right.
Stack Event too.
Because they used to go, you know, down to Hamstrom and the Vivian, you know, I mean, every 2 blocks you got another one. I think we should just allow it to one place.
I think we need to get our guidelines, and I'll get them to you guys, and we'll revisit them and make, you know,
So we
make
should
some
table
changes.
this, or do we need a motion to proceed with tabling the date but continue no door-to-door solicitation?
I don't think you need to table it. It doesn't have to be.
We can put it on.
It is discussion.
If the board understands it wants to bring it up at the next meeting to discuss, in the meantime, we can do your homework. It doesn't table.
Okay.
Put it on the agenda for next meeting.
I'll put it on the agenda.
For next
Yes.
meeting.
Yeah.
We have to.
Right, and I think, Nina, you have those rules and regulations in your office, right?
I'll try to pull what I have.
I've seen them, but it's
I mean, we
been a
have the
while and I
form,
don't know where
if
they're
it
at.
Specifically spells out what the guidelines are, so.
Okay.
I don't want to put extra work on you, Nina, but it'd also be nice to know when these organizations typically start doing this. So, you know, if you can go back and look at some of the requests, the forms they filled out, if they want to typically do this in May and June, that gives us, we can work backwards from that date on when we decide, if we do decide, when we're going to allow this to happen.
I just have one thing, you were just asking, I thought we did that sometime last year before, when the COVID hit that. They had to wear gloves and they could only be 6
We
feet
did, we had,
apart,
right.
that kind of stuff, so I think those,
Yeah, I don't think it wasn't really in writing, it was just per group
Right.
who was
Oh, okay.
asking.
All
And then
right.
we mixed it all together.
Is there a limit on how many people could be out there with those guidelines? I know you said the 6 feet apart, but do you put a limit on how many people from that organization can show up to collect the money?
well, really, you only need 4 people.
Okay.
But then there's some that that stand on the corner and then they'll rotate or something.
Somebody's got to run the Dunkin' Donuts back and forth.
I think the limit,
Okay, a Dunkin' Donut runner, okay, well, add +1, right? Okay.
Yeah,
well, I think, like Member Sandy said, I think the limitation needs to be actually with the collectors.
Right.
How many people are in
Yes.
the intersection.
Right.
If they want to have 25 people, but social distance to rotate people in and out, but
or
the
hold up a
limitation.
sign that says, you know,
Right.
donations for the food pantry or so.
I think
That
another
makes
thing
sense.
too is whatever containers they have, because sometimes it's not clear who that is. If you're driving your car through there, and I know that one time I thought it was our food pantry, and it wasn't our food pantry. So I think we need to fix those guidelines to say you have to clearly identify who you are and, you know, because it's not fair to our public residents who are not sure who that is, and they're
Right.
asked to give
I
money.
agree with you, and also they go through the police department with the vests and everything, so.
But they clearly need something to identify who they are and where they're from. Because that isn't clear a lot of times. So I think as we're revising those regulations, we need to look at that part too.
So we just need a revision for next meeting? We don't need no vote or anything?
No, I don't think so.
It wasn't.
So in the meantime, I can take a look at the current, past COVID regulation. Maybe this is an opportunity for us to clean it up anyway. So when we get to our next meeting, I'll have, some of you guys over here, and we can get it to you guys. Maybe we have something that we deal with during the COVID pandemic, which we're still sounding in. And then maybe a long-term, going to be some of the things that we already mentioned.
Thank you, Dan. I agree with you, John. We need to open it up, but we have to have guidelines.
Yes, I would agree.
I'll look at it, and Nina and I can check some, get some stuff for you guys. Get some thoughts on it.
What do you
Okay, is
think?
there
Yeah.
anything else to come before the board? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.